Why is a small armed force in Yemen allowed to halt international trade? The Houthi rebels are holding a major shipping route captive. They're attacking commercial vessels in the Red Sea. Ships are forced to use the ancient route between Europe and Asia through around Africa, adding 2 weeks to their journey. For answers, I'm joined by former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Middle East Policy, Simone Ledeen. Simone, the combined military capability of the nations where the ships are from is dramatically greater than that of the Houthis. Why are these attacks allowed to continue?
Well, you hit on a very important point. Yes, the number of ships is dramatically greater. However, if those ships are just sitting there and not taking decisive action, including responding, including imposing costs on the Houthis, which they are not currently doing, they're also not currently escorting ships that need security. And as a result, global shipping has actually shifted and is now moving around the Cape of Good Hope, which is much farther and much more expensive than taking the shortcut through the Red Sea.
So what's the holdup here? Why isn't anything being done about this for the most part?
Well, the short answer to that question is weak leadership. We need someone in our leadership, in our American political leadership, to actually decide to give the order and allow our troops to do what they do, to allow our Navy to do what it does. A strong U.S. Navy and a decisive U.S. Navy is really the foundation of our U.S. national security. So the fact that we look weak and that we are weak, frankly, currently, is very disturbing and very concerning for those of us who are watching this play out.
Now, Simone, Iran is behind the Houthis as well as the Hamas terror group in Gaza. But how much power does Iran exert over the Houthis?
Great question. So, yes, the Houthis are one of the branches of this malign Iranian influence tree in the region. And in fact, we are in the midst of an escalating regional conflict, which includes, as you mentioned, the Houthis and Hamas. At this point, I think it's safe to say that Iran is pulling the strings. Iran supplies the ballistic missiles that the Houthis have been using. They also have provided training. They've also provided logistical support. I mean, they are the force behind this. So I know a lot of people are talking about the Houthis versus Israel, the Houthis versus us, but in fact, it's Iran. It's an Iranian regional conflict that continues to heat up.
And we can come back to that in a bit, but talk about the Pentagon's recently unveiled plan to counter these attacks.
Well, a couple of days ago, Secretary Austin announced this big military operation, Prosperity Guardian. There was a lot of fanfare around this announcement, but in fact, what we've seen play out is its pretty quick collapse, in my opinion. The French have already sort of mostly pulled out. They're just protecting French ships and really not showing any interest in any other of these big container ships that have been previously passing through the Red Sea. And as I said at the outset, the other ships and the U.S. Navy ships should be actually sailing alongside of these big container ships to continue to support global trade and protect these ships from attacks by the Houthis, and they are not. They are idling. And they are not actually coming up next to other ships that are idling and helping them out, even American ships. And so that's why you see all really global trade moving down Africa around the Cape of Good Hope to avoid the Red Sea, because there's absolutely no deterrence that's happening right now in the Red Sea area.
I want to come back to Iran. Given what you said about their influence, what policy changes do you think could end these attacks that we're seeing in the Red Sea?
Well, I think number one, this is no longer enough, but a bare minimum is to put the Houthis back on the terrorist designation list. They are a terrorist entity. the Trump administration, which I was a part of, we designated the Houthis as a terrorist organization. And then 1 month into the Biden administration, they delisted the Houthis. And we've seen the results of that. But at this point, that's not going to be enough. Unfortunately, we've given them a couple of years to arm, to prepare, to plan with their Iranian overlords. And now we're at a point where we must take decisive action. Again, we're going to have to take decisive military action in order to provide deterrence. I'm not saying, let's attack Iran. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is right now, nobody is afraid of the United States military and the United States Navy. And the reason that we know this, again, is because everybody, all these ships that are trying to protect themselves and continue with global trade have taken a different route. So that's really what needs to happen. Unfortunately, we've blocked ourselves into this box. And the only way out, we're going to have to shoot our way out, unfortunately.
All right, Simone Ledeen, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Middle East Policy, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.